How are we doing, Phil?
All right, we're doing great. Today we've got an old friend here. This is one of our old F82 GT4s, and something we have been wanting to do for a bit actually is take a GT4 and apply a lot of the GTMore treatment to it. And this one is not going to get the full GTMore treatment, but we're going to throw a few GTMore goodies on it. Right now, waiting on Aero to come in. Gonna get rid of this GT4 front splitter and add the big old GTMore splitter, put the big GTMore dive planes on it, big wing, upgrade some cooling things, upgrade some power. Let's go to the back. We got a stack of parts back here. I don't think it's everything yet. We've got CSF heat exchanger, which one of the nice things about throwing that CSF heat exchanger on the front, which is part of the intercooler system, is it also allows you to add a port that you can bleed the intercooler system. This is the workhorse of the intercooler system. This is a C&R PWR top mount charge air cooler. This thing is a beauty. That will help keep those intake temps in check, which, as we're gonna add a little bit of power on this thing with some Epic Motorsport software, it's gonna need some cooling things to help it out. These cars came with a Lifeline fire system from the factory, electric system, but we're adding Protect-A-Wire, which is a heat detection cable that allows you to not have to trigger the system in case you feel unconscious, in case of an incident. So nice little safety addition here. Another C&R addition, so hitting all of the coolers for the intercooler. This is the auxiliary radiator, a little small boy, but an effective boy.
It's not about the size of the cooler, it's about the motion of the fins or whatever.
You know what? It's not about the size of the cooler. Watch out. It's not about the size of the cooler. It's not about having this thick, massive core. It's about the efficiency of the core design. And PWR, which has been used on a lot of BMW Motorsports applications for a number of years, including the GT3 stuff. Did a lot of stuff on the Bergsteiger car with C&R. These cores are magic and really are what help get the cooling efficiency to keep all these temps in check. Evolution Raceworks, charge pipes, and J-pipe, because those plastic ones probably fine at the stock lower power level, but once we're going to increase that boost, we need to make sure that our plastic charge pipes are going to hold up. Engine intake, help this thing breathe better, which also, on the other side, GTMore exhaust is going to go on this thing. The GT4s came with a pretty awesome exhaust already. However, we designed our GTMore exhaust to be better and make improvements off of the GT4 system. So still waiting on the splitter and waiting on the wing. The dive planes are here. Let's just see how much bigger than the factory these things are. Goodness. It's funny, James says that he can tell a difference if one of these little flicks flies off or gets damaged. This is quite a bit more than just, come get like an over-the-top shot of this thing.
I wonder what happens if one of those flies off.
I think you're gonna tell a difference.
When you lose a lunch tray at speed?
I mean, really, really looking forward to getting all the Aero stuff on this thing. So we got a bunch of performance things, but we also have some maintenance things. Pretty much all GT4 cars at this point, F-chassis GT4 cars, the fuel cell bladder is now expired. And you may think, okay, well, a lot of sanctioning bodies barely even ever look at that, but really, those bladders are a safety thing, and they start to develop pinholes after a certain amount of time, and it really is important to change those out. Well, the BMW bladder is super expensive, and you may buy one, and you don't even know how long it's been on the shelf. You don't know what the date is on that bladder. So we worked with FuelSafe to come up with a solution that is a replacement bladder that's also a much more cost-effective bladder than the BMW bladder, while being able to know what date you're actually getting to put in that thing, so you know you're getting the most up-to-date package you can. Crank guard.
Yes.
This is
Can we get a hub for that too?
We're waiting on the hub. We're gonna do a crank hub in this thing, waiting on the hub to come back in stock. This little simple piece is a crank seal guard, which if you throw a belt on one of these cars, which if it gets stuck to the front main seal, you're going to be pulling the pan, hoping you didn't get any belt shreddings into the oil pickup, causing any further issues. Pretty inexpensive safeguard there to hopefully save your engine if you have that issue. And Michael over there is being inappropriate to me, but If you want to make your GT4 go fast, I don't know, hit us up, BimmerWorld.com. That was terrible. All right, so I feel like I've left this thing for like 5 minutes and the shop has already torn apart all kinds of things. Bumpers off, a bunch of cooling stuff is off, headlights are off. They have the front end torn apart, splitters off. What they are working on at the moment is getting ready to do some of the cooling upgrades, and they actually just test fit a new part that we're working on. Just because the GTMore project's done doesn't mean we're done with F8X cars. This intercooler expansion tank that I'm pretty excited about. If you have paid attention, followed along with the GTMore project, you've known that we have gone through a few of those things. So looking forward to having that solution. Everything looks like it fits pretty well. Wanted to make sure it fits on the stock one before we put the CNR PWR intercooler on. Then we'll put the PWR intercooler on and see if it fits with that one. Man, stuff is torn apart. I'm getting pretty pumped about this project. Now, some of you know that we have done a 151 lap at VIR in the GTMore, 3,900 pound, super heavy car, doesn't have the chassis stiffness of a cage. Pretty excited to see what this thing can do. We think that a GT4 with a lot of the GTMore goodies is in the 47, 48 range of VIR. So excited to continue to truck on this thing, see what happens. Still making progress on this GT4 more. I don't know, whatever we're gonna dub this thing. Got the trunk off of this thing, getting ready for the Aero install. One of the actually additions we just made on the GTMore wing stuff is these uprights, these hinges that the wing mounts to don't really have a ton of material down in this area. And with the bigger GTMore wing, sometimes that additional downforce may just cause some extra stress on this. So get with this reinforcement plate, that's pretty nice. Sits on there, helps give it some more material, more rigidness, I don't know, whatever. And just helps strengthen the package. So we're getting ready to put the trunk back on, get this mounted up, get the Aero stuff here. And let's see where we're at on the front, what we've got going on up here. I see a beautiful fresh PWR auxiliary radiator for the intercooler system, so that's awesome. And the big boy PWR intercooler on top. I know I touched on that before, that we were doing a test fit with this intercooler tank that we're hoping to release soon and make sure everything's good with that. It is, I did check this because it is, I think it's a little bit higher than the stock tank, and you're able to take a peek up through the hole there and make sure that it's not making any contact with the hood. Got plenty of clearance, so no issues there. Metal J-pipe on. These plastic babies like to shred apart sometimes after high mileage, high heat, a lot of abuse. So J-pipe, Evolution Raceworks charge pipe's gonna go on as well, and getting ready to put the CSF heat exchanger on and continue to button this thing up. Got a pretty awesome transmission cooling package we are working on putting together on this thing as well. We've got a pretty sweet package that we finally solved all of our transmission cooling problems on with the GTMore, and excited to put that to use in some other applications. So stay tuned. We've got the front end torn apart on the GT4 that's here for some GTMore upgrades. Got an upgraded cooler that just went in right here for the intercooler system. The Charge Air intercooler, we'll get this thing down, but the Charge Air intercooler is upgraded with our PWR BimmerWorld one. Dave has knocked out the crank hub. We did the Vargas blind lock crank hub in this, and we also did the Vargas crank seal guard plate, which a simple, effective piece that if you ever throw a belt on pretty much any modern N52 and up car, it seems like the belt can possibly get sucked behind the harmonic balancer and get sucked into the main seal. And if that happens, the oil pump sucks the belt, shards up, and you might starve of oil, you might lose an engine. So, simple, effective solution to help protect your engine in case the belt gets thrown. And obviously, the crank hub is an effective solution to help limit your crank hub from spinning. Other things we got going on, gonna do a transmission pan upgrade. We are going to throw this pan on, which has extra meat here in the pan, and these bungs here for an entire secondary cooling system, almost like a diff cooler system that we have. We're gonna do this on the trans. We were fighting transmission cooling problems on the GTMore pretty consistently, and we went to this solution that has a pump, a secondary external pump, all these lines, extra lines to plummet, and then another cooler that goes up here behind the kidneys. All transmission woes went away. So this is the end-all be-all solution. There are some other things you can do to help alleviate some typical transmission cooling issues, but this is the Mac Daddy. This is the one that really solves all the problems. So we're gonna put this baby on. You know, this already has the aluminum endurance pan from the GT4, but this is gonna be a big boy upgrade to help get this transmission and keep this transmission as cool as possible. You know, even detuned GT4 cars in WRL that are running like 370, 380 wheel horsepower, over those long runs, they may be seeing 260, 270 Fahrenheit trans temp. And at that point, you start getting into a torque reduction. In the GTMore at 700, 800 wheel horsepower, we were like 200 to 210 degrees F after we switched to this pan system. So super excited about this and getting this on this car to make sure it runs cool. Looks like they are wrapping up some of the stuff up top. Coolers in, Evolution Raceworks aluminum charge pipes, replace those failure-prone plastic ones with these aluminum ones. More robust, more reliable. The J pipe that you can't see that is down there going to the throttle body. Yeah, they are trucking away on this thing. You can see that crank seal capture plate a little bit better, and actually have the harmonic balancer right here, which basically this bolts there, and if the belt flings around and just gets sucked back behind this thing, it just gets sucked back into that seal, and it's not a good time. So once again, simple, effective way to help alleviate that problem. Next phase of this GT4 with some GTMore touches on it is the fuel cell bladder. We are going to replace the fuel cell bladder because these things are good for 5 years, FIA certification for 5 years. You can get them renewed by sending it in and getting an additional 2 years on it. But with the GT4s being quite a number of years old now, this thing is actually out of date and time has expired. And realistically, it's not just an FIA certification like, hey, that's something I need to get done because the FIA says so. Fuel bladders do form some pinholes, some chafing from things inside and whatnot that can just cause them to have little pinhole leaks that, well, you don't want fuel to leak. It needs to stay contained inside of this thing. So we work with FuelSafe to come up with a replicated factory system to just mimic everything, to follow all these weird contours, all these weird shapes. That's actually less expensive than the factory option, and you know you're getting it new with as much life as possible. So this just came in, full 5-year date on it, not valid after March of 2029, right there, and then can get it renewed for another 2 years if you so choose to do that. We know there's quite a number of GT4s out there now that are going to be due for this replacement. You know, some of the stuff that's kind of nifty about this is how it fits in the car, but also, you know, we work to make sure everything bolted in the same way. This system does come with new foam, which is pretty nice.
Oh, nicely shaped.
Pretty nice that this foam is actually already cut to contour with the bladder. If you've ever had to mess with cutting fuel cell foam, I hope you're good at arts and crafts. This takes a little bit of the work out of it. You are still going to need to do some cutting. Yeah, you are still going to need to do some cutting around the makeup tank and the lift pumps. Oh man,
yeah.
Like a glove. Look at that thing. Perfect fit all around. Has all the provisions as well for all the lift pumps and everything. So pretty thrilled to have this max life new system with the help of FuelSafe. Time to get this baby all prepped, sealed up, pumps installed in the car, ready to go. Getting this cell prepped and ready to go in the GT4. Wanted to get a quick shot of all of the inner workings a little bit, show the lines, makeup tank. Got a lift pump over there, lines routed around. Kind of awesome to see this thing start to come together.
Big parts in a little car. Big splitter in a little dude.
I'm not needle. I'm average size.
We got a splitter. At least I hope this is a splitter. Also got a wing. So working on next steps of getting this unboxed on the car, getting close to wrapping this thing up. Well, this thing's wrapped up awful nice. Ooh, there we go. Look at it. Ready to split some air. Massive, much improved, more surface area, GTMore splitter. Every time I look at one of these things, I'm reminded how much bigger this is than the GT4 system. Looking forward to some of that more front end grip produced from this baby versus the GT4 system. No. Now, the big old GTMore wing, a lot more surface area, a little bit different profile to it. And one of the beauties of this wing and the splitter, we can utilize a lot of the GT4 mounting system already. We made the splitter so that it just goes on with the bumper already trimmed, uses the same mounting points. If you don't have a GT4, we also have all the components as a full package, but looking forward to slapping these on.
You want to get our thumbnail of just...
You idiot.
Bill, what do we do on the GT4 car?
A lot. GTMore diplanes, GTMore front splitter, GTMore rear wing, GTMore exhaust, engine intakes, Evolution Raceworks charge pipes, Evolution Raceworks J-pipe, BimmerWorld by PWR top charge mount intercooler, CSF front mount heat exchanger, BimmerWorld remote mount bleed kit to help bleed that thing, PWR auxiliary radiator, big transmission cooling package to help cool this thing, help solve a lot of problems for us on the GTMore, fuel safe fuel bladder that is exclusively available at BimmerWorld, and of course, Epic Motorsport software to tie this whole thing together. I think I hit all of it. Really excited to see all this whole package come together and really pumped for Rich to get this thing on track as we've been waiting to get our hands on a GT4. Fortunately, this one was an old friend of ours, and see what it would do with some GTMore upgrades. Excited to see how this thing performs as Rich really has kind of gotten dialed in with the car as it was in GT4 trim. Now it's gonna be a whole new beast. So looking forward to seeing this thing at the track here soon.
You ready to go? Should be an awesome race weekend. We are ready to kill it this year. It's good. It's gonna be a wild ride.